Hello and welcome. Thank you for joining today's webinar on auto care business opportunities in Peru, presented by the Auto Care Association. I'm Angela Chang, Director of International Affairs at the Auto Care Association. In today's webinar, you'll learn the why and the how of doing business in Peru, hear an overview of the automotive industry in Peru, learn about the best prospects and opportunities in the market, and hear details on the Auto Care Association's trade mission to Peru in March. Before we get started, I have a few housekeeping notes to share. Please submit questions anytime during the webinar using the Questions tab located at the bottom right-hand side of the webinar console. We'll be answering questions at the end of the session, and if we don't get to your question, we'll be sure to follow up afterwards. This webinar will be recorded, and the recording will be distributed 24 to 48 hours after the webinar has concluded so that you can listen on demand at your convenience. And now I'd like to introduce today's presenters, Leon Skarshinsky, Commercial Attaché at the U.S. Embassy in Lima, Peru, and my colleague, Carolina Aragoses, Associate of International Affairs at the Auto Care Association. Now, to give a brief background of the Auto Care Association for those who are not familiar with us, we are a trade association based outside of Washington, D.C. We protect and advance the interests of businesses providing aftermarket products and services of all classes of motor vehicles. The association has more than 3,000 member companies. We represent 150,000 independent automotive businesses that manufacture, distribute, and sell motor vehicle parts, accessories, tools, equipment, materials, and supplies, and perform vehicle service and repair. These are just some of the resources and services for our members. Industry legislation advocacy through our government affairs team, professional development and education, technology standards to manage and exchange automotive catalog data, market intelligence, communication resources to keep you updated, and international growth and business development opportunities, which we will talk about today. In 2016, the Auto Care Association received an Export Promotion Award from the Department of Commerce to help increase U.S. exports of automotive parts and services. We have organized 8 successful trade missions to Central and South American countries. Many of our participating companies have reported sales or are very optimistic in developing business relationships with the leads they are pursuing. Many of our members have focused on Latin America as target markets with great opportunities for growth. And more than half of all U.S. Free Trade Agreement partners are in Latin America, and we'll talk a little bit more about FTA benefits later. More than 40% of U.S. exports already go to Latin America, showing a high track record of success. And high level of used car sales, American vehicle imports, and increasing age of vehicles make Peru a great market for aftermarket products and services. Our geographic proximity leads to significantly shorter lead times, giving us a competitive advantage over our Asian and European competitors. Latin America has also been historically a high receptive marketplace for U.S. goods and services. They're very familiar with U.S. brands and the way we do business here. The U.S. has signed free trade agreements with many Latin American countries, making them excellent targets for export growth. First, most auto parts are currently entering these markets tariff-free. FTAs also reduce non-tariff barriers and discriminatory regulations. Protections for investments and property means more transparency and security when investing in these markets. Custom procedures are harmonized and helps reduce the burdens needed to process paperwork. Additionally, FTAs have a system in place for resolving legal disputes. This element is especially helpful when doing business in a foreign market that has a different language, a different legal system, and business customs. And all of these benefits allow you to compete on a more level playing field than in a non-FTA country. And now I'd like to turn it over to Leon Skarshinsky, Commercial Attaché, to share with us information on doing business in Peru.
Yeah, thanks for that. Thanks for having me here today. Greetings from Lima, Peru, everyone. I'll speak in English and not Spanish for y'all. I understand I have about 10 minutes, and This is essentially going to be an overview of what you might expect or what you might be getting into if you and when you come down on this mission here. Plan for some date TBD in the somewhat near future, later 2020. So what I'm going to do is talk about the U.S. Foreign Commercial Service in general and here in Peru, the kinds of services we provide should you come down here or should you have a product or service you'd like to export down here. And then I'll just kind of go over some Peru statistics and information that can help you decide if this might be a market for you guys. So as we see on the first slide here, the U.S. Foreign Commercial Service, we are a agency of the U.S. Department of Commerce. So I like to say we're kind of a hub and spoke model. In D.C., Washington, D.C., we have the headquarters. So that's where all the policy and major decision making comes to. Then in every major city in the United States, about 110, we have what's called a U.S. Export Assistance Center, or USIAC. Now, this is your expert on the ground near you who should be aware of all the businesses and would be able to then help potential exporters, help you guys sell your product overseas. So for example, let's say you're near Phoenix, Arizona, you make brake pads. You would go to our Phoenix, Arizona USIAC and say, hey, I got some great brake pads here. I'm interested in shipping to South America, or perhaps you already have a market in mind. Maybe it is Peru. They would then link to us. So we are kind of that far node of the whole hub and spoke system there. They would reach out to me and say, hey, Leon, we got a great producer of brake pads. Let's, see if you can link him up with a distributor or possibly a direct wholesaler or whatever. So I'll get to how we do that in a second. So yeah, so within this whole hub and spoke model, we have over 100 offices, the USIACs. We have 140 offices in embassies. You might not have an officer like me in every embassy, but we do have people from other sections that can help. So by that, you can basically get to any market you'd want to get to in the U.S. And let me step back for a second. So the U.S. Foreign Commercial Service, we got three main jobs, one main job really, and that's to help American producers sell and or promote their goods and services in foreign markets. Second and thirdly, we help with policy issues. Perhaps there's some new auto standards or fuel standards that are unfair. We help lobby against those and the like. So that's all behind the scenes stuff. And also we attract investment into the United States. But for the purposes of you guys on the line right now, we help you sell your products and services, help you promote them in overseas markets. Next slide, please. Next slide. Thank you. Okay, how do we do this? How can we help you get your, back one slide, please. I think you hit two. There we go. All right, how do we help you get your products into Peru, for example? So I'm not gonna go over in too much detail everything there, but basically we have a few things. So, and this is a little strange sounding, we have what's called an International Buyer Program, an IBP. As you know, or you may know, the government's good at acronyms. That's now called a TEPP. Don't ask me what it stands for. I haven't remembered it yet. However, what these are, what an IBP is a giant trade show in the United States. So I guess the big one for most anyone in the auto field would be the SEMA show in Vegas that happens around October every year. So this is an IBP show. We actually are able to bring Peruvian buyers to this trade show in Vegas. And if you sign up ahead of time and the likes, we can actually facilitate introductions, have special meetings, and we have a whole suite of services that will help link you to our Peruvian delegation. And also keep in mind, every major country where we are is also bringing a delegation. So these IBP shows, call them TEPP shows now, are great for you to network in the United States. Because, yeah, you might not want to necessarily fly to Colombia, fly to Chile, fly to Peru, when a lot of the major buyers would be going up to the U.S. and you can see them all in one spot. Then we do a number of other things, similar trade missions. We actually sometimes bring groups, associations down here to meet with buyers, potential distributors, et cetera, et cetera. Another thing we do, I'll just list two more there, is a gold key matchmaking service. Let's say you've come down here already on a mission, it was quick, you like it, you can come back and we'll actually line up a number of one-on-one meetings with potential distributors. Perhaps there's some government agencies you'd like to speak to, etc. Likewise, a single company promotion similar to that, we'd have you down here. We'd aim to possibly bring the ambassador in, have them help promote your wares, your goods, your service, and the like. So basically what you need to keep in mind from this is we can, after you've done a mission down here, you like what you see, we can even drill down further to help you make those connections. Next slide, please. Yeah, it takes time. Okay, and these are some other more what I'm going to say, some of the smaller things we do. So the one I'm going to mention there that I think is important is the market research and due diligence. Let's say you've come down here, you've been on the trade mission, you've come back, done a gold key, which isn't even a necessity. You meet a potential partner, but you're not sure about them. You're not sure of their reputation. You want to see if they're legitimate. We do a service for, I think it's about $150, where we can basically dig down and do due diligence on this individual. You know, come up with a credit report, look for any kind of news, negative things that might be in the Peruvian media and the like. So this is a great service for somebody who has a potential partner, but it just is not 100% secure. And I always tell people it's worth $150 to save what might be a $100,000 headache in the future. So keep in mind that's another thing we do down here should you find a partner or potential partner. Yeah, so I'll leave it at that. That's, I think, the biggest takeaway from this one here. Next slide, please. Great. Another thing we offer, and because this is a industry-specific group here, automotive, auto parts, I don't want to get into too much broad detail on Peru, but we do have something called the Country Commercial Guide. You can find it online, and this basically highlights the business, the industry sectors we think are very open for U.S. participation, sectors that really might be the area where there are opportunities to sell your good or service. Next slide, please. Okay, let's just do the usual statistics thing here. A little bit about Peru, 5th largest economy in South America, GDP 225 billion. Lima is the major city. That's about 10 million people, give or take a few million. It's big. People equate it to kind of New York size, really. And then there's 4 smaller cities: Arequipa, Cusco, Trujillo, and Chiclayo. And these are definitely way small. If you visit them, they seem like 1/4 the size of Lima. So Lima is kind of your big 800-pound gorilla in the country. I do like mentioning one thing. We've had a number of businesses meeting with the ambassador. You might have heard there's been a bit of, how should we say, social unrest in South America lately. There's been protests in Chile, Ecuador, Colombia, and Bolivia, just to name a few, and Venezuela as well as a recent power change in Argentina with a new government that some question as far as their economic kind of policy making skills there. So people have kept asking me, Leon, what's up with Peru? It must be really horrible there as well. And I just like to say Peru is kind of the one stable country in the region. So Peru, just by holding steady, has suddenly become sort of a shining star. So we're actually seeing a lot more attention being focused in Peru, whereas in the past it was kind of in Chile, a bit of Argentina, and a bit of Colombia. So you know, bottom line is we can never promise complete political stability, but things seem a lot more secure here than other places. Next slide, please. Slide. As we're waiting for the next slide to go, it's just going to be a couple more statistics that's going to pop up here. A little more basically being there's a population of 30 million. Of this 30 million, 57% are middle class. Medium age is 28. It's a young country. 45% of that, those of that median age is below the age of 24. So though some of these might not be in the middle class yet, obviously it's a bubble kind of moving up, and eventually these people, we hope, will have spending power and the likes. We have an unemployment rate officially of 6%. My personal opinion, it's probably a bit higher than that. You got a lot of people working in the informal sector, but that's actually a better number than you got in some other countries in the area. And a literacy rate of 94.5%. Can we move 2 slides ahead? Okay, great. And then 1 more slide after the people of Peru by the numbers, please.
Yes, Leon, we're having some issues with the presentation, but you can go ahead, and we are changing to the slide you are mentioning.
Sure, let's just try to keep up with me there just so people can visualize. Thank you so much. So what's one attractive thing about Peru? Basically, we have a free trade agreement with Peru, and that's a good thing. It basically means the elimination of taxes, tariffs for your exports to Peru. This FTA is now entering its 10th year. I think in some, they say about over 80% of goods is now tariff-free, duty-free, both into Peru and Peru to the United States. Little hint, if you want to source some goodies from down here, that's also helpful. But also keep in mind, we also have free trade agreements with Chile and Colombia as well. So those are other places that have a similar tariff situation. So yes, there's now $10 billion in bilateral trade between the 2 countries. The U.S. enjoys a trade surplus of $1.2 billion. So that means we are exporting more down here than the Peruvians are exporting up our way, or that we are importing from Peru. Pretty much a BBB plus Fitch rating. That's pretty good compared to some other places. However, one thing to keep in mind is that Peru is highly reliant on its mining sector. So basically, the 2 big economic movers here, the mining sector. So you got a lot of companies in here pulling stuff out of the mountains and then shipping that stuff to China to produce. That requires heavy machinery. That might require light trucks. And all those machineries and trucks got parts they're going to need too. Keep that in mind. Ditto for the agriculture sector. That is their 2nd biggest sector here. And under the FTA, they have greatly increased exports of avocados, blueberries, and fish, and loads of produce like that up our way. So again, what's needed on those farms? You need tractors, you need other kind of smaller machineries and the like. So think about if you're a particular supplier of these kind of things, this is going to be useful down here. Few other things about the trade agreement is basically it does protect your intellectual property. Let's say you have a brand, a logo, your company's name. If you bring it down here, you're not going to see it getting ripped off and copied as you might see in China. You know, we have pretty secure regime here. They got a good legal system, and we can kind of go after them pretty quick and easily, unlike China. Moving on, again, I understand you are mostly in the automotive sector. But what are some best prospect sectors we have here? And as I go through this list, just think about where your product might fit in here. Peru has a giant infrastructure plan. They talk a big talk about building more bridges, more hospitals, more schools, more connecting highways. In reality, these don't play out as quick as you'd think. However, there is definitely a focus on building more, improving the transport infrastructure here. Also keep in mind, in 2017, there were some giant floods that affected the north of the country. And I think there's about $6 billion in projects waiting to be dished out. So the building, again, of hospitals, flood control, irrigation control, and the likes. So yeah, that requires engineering design services, construction equipment, water resources and equipment services, medical facilities. You know, they really want to increase the health system here. I mentioned mining equipment and machinery, medical dental equipment, safety and security. And then, of course, with all that exported food. We got processing and packaging equipment. So let's go ahead, one more slide. Realizing my time is coming to a close close. I don't want to go into too much detail because I realize we're going to dig into that as soon as I'm done speaking. But bottom line, when it comes to automotive, Peru is the 5th largest market in South America. There are no vehicles currently produced here. Everything is imported. So for solid cars coming from the U.S., again, that's good. There's no tariffs. However, everything has a 17% VAT on it. So anything that comes in here duty-free, you're still going to have to pay a 17% value-added tax on that. So keep that in mind. And then there might be another 1-2% kind of charge slapped on it at customs, depending on the exact product. If you all know your HS code for your product, we can always look that up and see what the exact tariff rate is if it doesn't happen to be 0. Likewise, if there might be any extra fees, surcharges, charges, and things like that. So rate of vehicle ownership in Peru, it says it's 12% in Lima. However, assuming you join the trade mission and get down here, you're going to think it's more like 100%. These streets are clogged and packed. I think I read somewhere the average truck, so we're speaking kind of heavy Mack truck kind of thing, is like 15 to 18 years old. When you're here, don't be surprised to see some kind of old Toyota Corolla from the 1980s cruising around, belching out smoke from the back. But that said, you also have a lot of new cars. I don't see as many American-made products. They're there. A lot of Chevys, some of the smaller, lower-end models. But yeah, a lot of South Korean cars here. Kias and Hyundais are just about everywhere. So if you have parts and or accessories or services that work on those, there's potential. Next slide, please. Basically, just next slide is sales volume, movement of solid cars. I know we're going to hit that in more depth later, so let's move on to the second to last slide there, please. Okay, I just dug up a quick regulation, wanted to do a quick look to see what we got here. Basically, no used parts are really allowed down here, so you got to follow the remanufacture. If you do remanufactured items, they have to follow certain standards and control methods that the Peruvian government has in effect here. So just beware. The other thing is you cannot, for whole cars, you cannot import a car down here that is over 4 years old. So it's part of the whole process to keep those old clunkers off the road here, even though there's plenty when you're here. So keep those in mind. Last slide, please. And there you go. So who are you talking to? I'm the second guy down there. There's 2 American officers in this office here, and then we have a number of specialists. So you would be working with Laura Robinson. She's here. Laura, say hello.
Hello. How are you? Thank you for attending this webinar.
Her Spanish is better than mine, and she would be your main liaison between potential partners you might identify down here or nodes of sale. So with that said, thank you for listening. I hope I didn't bore you too much, and I guess I will take questions at the end of the entire presentation. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Leon. Again, we'll have time for questions at the end. I wanted to invite all participants to submit questions in the question panel, and we'll get to them at the end. I'd like to invite our next speaker, Carolina Aragosis of the Auto Care Association. She will provide an overview of the automotive market, business opportunities in Peru, and tell you a little bit about our upcoming trade mission and what that might mean for you in advancing your business opportunities in Peru.
Thank you, Angela, very much. Good afternoon, everyone. Well, yes, I'm Carolina Regoses with the International Affairs Office at the Auto Care Association. Now we're going to take a look at the automotive market in Peru. So we have here information on light vehicles sales. Peru's automotive sector closed 2019 with the best performance among Pacific Alliance countries, with a 2.4% growth in vehicle sales, as was reported by the Peruvian Automotive Association. As the commercial office at the embassy just mentioned, vehicle sales in Peru reached nearly 152,000 units. Among the factors that encourage this positive behavior were the reduction of the selective consumption tax to certain segment of vehicles. Also, the improvement in different economic indicators that included employment, revenue, and consumer confidence. So this definitely encouraged the acquisition of vehicles. As for the best-selling brands in Peru, right now Toyota leads with 19%, Hyundai with 12.4%, followed by Kia with 9.5%, Chevrolet with 5.6%, and then Suzuki with 4.4%. We can go to the next slide. We're going to be able to see some information on heavy-duty vehicle sales. Also, the Peruvian Association reports that heavy-duty sales are at 16,650. This is a little bit lower than 2018. The market share in this segment is led by Mercedes-Benz with 12.3%. It's followed by Mitsubishi and Volvo, both at 9.7%, and then Hino at 9.6%. We have some other brands following Isuzu, Hyundai, Scania, Foton, among others. Next slide, please. Here we have information on actual import of light vehicles. So for 2019, it has shown a positive performance compared to 2018. The information we have goes till September of 2019. The graph definitely shows a trend in Toyota, Hyundai, and Kia leading the imports. In Peru, the top 5 for preference or model for preference are Toyota Hilux, Kia Rio, Toyota Yaris, Toyota Etios, and Hyundai Accent. It is also important to know that there has been an increase in the imports of used cars in Peru operating on natural gas due to the reduction of the selective consumer tax that went from 30% to 10%, and this is an incentive from the government. In the next slide, please. We're going to be seeing the chart is going to show vehicle sales from 2010 till 2018. Sales of motor vehicles in Peru have been fluctuating throughout the years. This figure includes numbers for passenger cars. The number is for passenger cars, light commercial vehicles, heavy-duty trucks, and buses. However, as we mentioned earlier, for 2019, we saw a growth of 2.4% in vehicle sales. In the next slide, we have information on car park. The total number of vehicles in operation in Peru, including private fleet, is 4,264. And the ownership in Peru, the ownership rate in Peru is increasing. From this number, 85% is light duty and 50% is heavy duty. There has been an increase on the number of heavy-duty vehicles in Peru, due mainly to the fact that Peru is the world's third largest producer of copper, zinc, and silver. So this it has become a major buyer of fleet vehicles. The average age of private transport vehicles in Peru is 15.5, and for heavy duty is 22.5. And next slide, please. Okay, so we want to talk now about the aftermarket. Here we have information for main auto parts imported from January, from the period January to November 2018 compared to the same period in 2019. It shows an increase in all categories, but a small decrease, in tires. However, tires, lubricants, motor parts, and filters are the top imports in Peru. And it shows an important increase in lubricants and motor parts. It is important to know that Peru imports more than $7 billion for the automotive market, and this includes oils, lubricants, and all vehicle parts, light and heavy duty. According to the Peruvian Statistics Institute, for 2017, the aftermarket in Peru increased 1.8 compared to the previous year. Also, the repair industry increased 2.5 compared to the previous year. Next, please. We're going to be able to show information on U.S. exports to Peru. So according to the International Trade Administration, the United States market share for auto parts in Peru is 19%. In the chart, we see that U.S. auto parts export to Peru have been growing 20% from 2016 till 2018. Just wanted to mention that the decrease in 2016 was due to the slowdown in domestic demand by the impact of the El Nino, the climate cycle in the Pacific, and also by the cases of corruption involving Brazilian construction firms. But then after we see an increase. We also should consider that other big countries in the region, like Argentina, show similar numbers in imports from the US, making Peru a significant market for US exports in the region. Also, it's important to know that US brands are recognized as high quality, but more expensive than other parts, but definitely as high quality. There is also significant competition in the aftermarket from countries like China, Brazil, Japan, and Colombia. Next slide, please. We wanted to give you a snapshot of the top auto parts imports, so you can see the products that are increasing its demand in Peru. This chart is comparing imports from 2012 till 2016. As we mentioned earlier, tires, lubricants, and filters are top imports, and we're noticing a significant increase for products related to the radiator. Products like oil filters, batteries, bearings, valves, among other, are showing unstable behavior. In the next slide, we are showing the top imports that have increased their performance during this same period, 2012 versus 2016. Radiator products exhibit definitely a considerable increment at an average of 300%. We have oil radiators at 400, radiators cleaners at a little bit over 200. Oil additives and silicone are also increasing at a significant rate. Other noteworthy products are brake pads, belts, discs, clutch, spark plugs, among others. Okay, so regarding opportunities in this market, among the opportunities that this market offers and the information we just present, first, this is a market that is highly dependent on imports. There is no significant auto parts manufacturing in Peru. There is a small local production of tires, engine components, transmission oil, and safety glass, but it's not significant. Also, the average age of vehicles continue to increase, and this trend will continue driving the demand for service and repair. The road infrastructure in Peru is improving, but there is still many roads in poor condition, as again driving the demand for service, repair, and parts. There is a growing government and consumer awareness over the importance of scheduled servicing. And with this aim, the government has issued regulation on gas emissions that requires vehicles the schedule maintenance. Another opportunity is that repair shops are in need of modernization. They have 20-year-old equipment and they are looking to renovate. So this is another good opportunity. In the next slide, there is a lack of automotive technicians, so we have good opportunities for this education, for education in this aspect. We have also noticed an interest from distributors in acquiring new technologies for their distribution process. There is an increasing interest in inventory software. Well, Peru is a market price-driven country, and Asian competitors are strong. However, they lack sometimes reliable supply and support, and that is how used companies can compete with quality and support. Finally, like we have mentioned, Peru and the US have a free trade agreement, which has eliminated tariffs on many goods. Peru, in this regards, Peru is also accelerating its customs clearance process for US imports, in addition to strengthening intellectual property rights. Okay, so here we have some information if you want to check if your product qualifies for the FTA. We
Carolina, are you there? I think we may be experiencing a technical issue. Let me try to continue her section here. This is Angela from the Auto Care Association. Here on International Trade Administration's website is a FTA tariff tool where you can search by HTS code to see if your product qualifies for tariff-free treatment or what the tariff rate is. This is an excellent tool if you're exporting to, looking into exporting to Peru or even other markets. On this next slide, we have an example of HTS code for brake parts and for motor vehicles, and you can see based on this HTS code 8708391000. This is since 2009 as we have seen a tariff rate of 0%.
Hi, Angela. I'm back. Can you hear me?
Carolina, yes.
Yes. Okay, great. Thank you so much. Yes, so this information, we took the example of brakes, the harmonized code for brakes, and you see that right now the tariff rate is 0 for this product, and you also are able to get the information and the rule of origin for your specific product if you want to check. So we can go to the next slide, please. Okay, so after reviewing the information that we just present, we have identified a breadth prospect list that includes information from the top imports of auto parts. Some of the most important are tires, lubricants, radiator products, engine parts, filters, belts, electric parts, bodywork parts, transmission systems, brake systems, suspension systems, batteries, service shop equipment, as we said, and remanufactured parts. We recommend for remanufactured parts to follow the ones that have a detailed remanufacturing process that the government has established, and these are for engines, transmissions, alternator, starter motors, steering rack, injection pump, carburetors, and turbochargers. Well, overall, there is a vibrant automotive aftermarket in Peru. Again, this market is highly dependent on imports, so aftermarket products definitely offer good sell opportunities. In the next slide, we have Information on the main automotive association in Peru is called Asociación Automotriz del Perú. It represents vehicle importers like motorcycles, three-wheelers, heavy machinery, parts, and service sectors, along with fuel refining and automotive insurance and financing. So it covers the whole vehicle and automotive industry in Peru. In Peru, there is a small show called Expo Mecánica Peru. It's a local show, small, but it's still very important in Peru. It has around 100 exhibitors, and it's once a year, and this year is going to be in May 22nd and 24th. Okay, so this is the information we wanted to present on the automotive and aftermarket and opportunities in the auto care. So now that we have discussed the auto care market in Peru, you're probably wondering how to start taking advantage of these business opportunities. So the first step that we are proposing today is participating in a trade mission organized by the Auto Care Association. This is a business development opportunity that you were able to meet with one-on-one with prospective customers and distributors that will be pre-screened to match your specific business objectives. And also you're going to be able to get first-hand market information. This program offers an excellent opportunity to enhance your exposure to a local market and get access to key industry contacts. During the last 4 years, we have hosted trade missions to mainly all Latin America. Many of our participating companies have reported sales, and others are very optimistic in developing business with these countries. So next slide, when are we going to Peru? So we have confirmed the dates for March 16 and 17, and that we will be in Peru. And what is included in this trade mission, or what are the benefits of this trade mission? So first, you will get personalized one-on-one meetings through the Lima Chamber of Commerce that will meet your specific goals and objectives. We are also going to have a country briefing by the U.S. Commercial Service in Peru that we just had the pleasure to listen. Also included hotel accommodations for 2 nights, meals, airport transfers, and local ground transportation. If you need, we will be also including an on-site interpreter for your B2B meetings. We're going to have also a permission call to discuss all the details before the trip and answer any questions. You will also going to receive an assessment by the Lima Chamber of Commerce with information on the potential of your product in the country. In the next slide, we have information, or we have the itinerary for the trade mission. So the idea, can you hear me at this point, Angela?
Yes, Carolina.
Yes,
we can hear you.
Okay, great. Okay, great. So the idea for delegates or participants is to arrive in Lima on March 16. Anytime you're able to arrive. So we are bright and early to start with the trade mission activities on Tuesday, March 17. We're going to start with a country briefing, and then we're going to have a full day of the business-to-business meetings at the offices of the Lima Chamber of Commerce. If for some reason the company you're gonna meet is not able to make it to the Chamber of Commerce, we're gonna have transportation for you to go and visit him or visit this person at their office. Then at night, we're gonna have a group dinner. Then the next day, Wednesday, participants will return to the United States. Okay, so now we have information on the trade mission costs to Peru. Members of the association will have a $500 discount, and we are also offering an offset incentive discount for U.S. companies. So this is part of the award that we received from the Department of Commerce. So participants promoting U.S. products will receive another $500 upfront offset during towards the trade mission package. And this is if you're a member of the Auto Care Association and you're promoting U.S. products, you will only pay $2,500. If you're interested in getting more information on how to become a member of the Auto Care Association, please contact me and I will send you the information you need. So again, what's included in the package, the one-on-one meetings, the country briefing, breakfast, coffee breaks, lunch, dinner, and the trade mission day, hotel accommodations for tonight, local transportation from and to the airport, and to all the trade mission events. Also an interpreter if you need for the one-on-one meetings. What is not included in the package? The expenses for airfare and non-specified meals and incidentals. So registration. Next slide. The first step, please register at our website, www.autocare.org/trade missions. You will find all the information you need about the trade missions and the link to register. Then the Lima Chamber of Commerce will assess your application, and you will receive a notification regarding your qualification to participate along with the invoice. Once we receive your payment, we're going to start working on your meetings. Keep in mind that the deadline to register is February 7th, but space is limited, so registration will end once we reach capacity. We suggest if you're planning to attend to please submit your registration as soon as you can. We still have spots available. Okay, so the final slide, we would like to share with everyone some of the testimonials and reviews that we have received from past mission participants. Some of them already reported successful sales, and some others are working on closing deals. So again, this is a great opportunity to get first-hand market information. You're going to be able to save time and maximize your results attending to this trade mission. Okay, so thank you very much. I want to turn over back to Angela from the Auto Care so we can continue with the Q&A portion of the webinar. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Carolina. And now we'll move to questions from the audience. As a reminder, you can still submit questions through the questions tab located on the bottom right-hand side of your GoToWebinar console. First question is, how many meetings are included in the trade mission package, and where will the meetings be taking place?
Okay, thank you, Angela. So we'll have we have a minimum of 6 meetings per company, but it could be definitely if the company receives like more interest than 6 meetings, we can handle as many meetings as we can during that day. And the meetings are gonna take place at the Lima Chamber of Commerce at the location. They have a building with their offices and meeting spaces, so we're gonna have the meetings there. Thank you.
Thank you. And a follow-up question to that is if there are requests for specific distributors or specific partners that they would like to work with or not work with, can you help accommodate those in the matchmaking process?
Yes, definitely. We can accommodate those. In the registration form that we have online, there is a space for you to let us know if you already have contacts or if you have already identified some partners that you would like to reach out. You just need to let us know the names or the characteristics of the distributors or the companies that you would like to meet. You just need to let us know. If for some reason you already have like some presence in that market, or if you already have like some conversations with companies that you don't want us to reach, just you can also let us know.
Great, thank you. There's a request to go back to the itinerary page, so I'll leave it right here for you to see. There's also been a question that has come in regarding the Peru VIO. So we'll follow up with that participant after the webinar with those details. Carolina, if you can go over one more time what the trade mission package discounts and the costs are.
Yes, of course. So I don't know if we can. Yes, please. Thank you. So we have a discount for members of the Auto Care Association. This is a $500 discount if you're a member of the Auto Care Association. Also, if you are promoting U.S. products, you are going to receive another $500 U.S. upfront offset. So if you are a member of the Auto Care Association, you're promoting U.S. products, you are going to be end up paying only $2,500. Each additional participant will pay $800. Yes, I mean, if you have like any questions about if your products qualify for this discount, please reach out and we will review with you, of course.
Carolina, a follow-up question to that is, what does the additional participant cost include?
Yes, so it includes the hotel for tonight, individual hotel room, all the meals, breakfast, lunch, snacks, dinner, also individual transportation from the airport into the airport and ground transportation. So this only includes the cost of to have an additional person at the hotel, but it includes, as I mentioned, hotel, meals, attending the one-on-one meetings. Yes, that's what it includes.
Great, thank you, Carolina. I think that's all the questions we have. There has been a few requests that have come in for a link to the recording and the slide deck, so we'll be sure to send those out either tomorrow or the day after. I'd like to go to our last slide here with our, sorry, I'm advancing here, Trade Mission website. If you have any questions or would like more details, please visit www.autocare.org/trade-missions or contact Carolina Aragoses. If you are interested in the trade mission, please go ahead and go on the website and fill out the application. This is not a binding application, but it will allow us to perform a brief market assessment of your product, your objectives, and determine if you're a right fit and the timing is right for you to join the mission. So this is a non-binding application again, but will let us take a first step at looking at your goals and your objectives in the market. Thank you again for participating in this webinar and have a great day.